welcome to my channel on the best of fantasy. Today, I am reviewing the book that broke the world. This is book 2 of the Library Trilogy by Mark Lawrence. This review will be spoiler-free. However, I will be having a discussion of the Library Trilogy thus far. That would be books 1 and 2, and that discussion will be happening in mid-June. I will be shouting all about it as we get closer to the time, but I'm going to be discussing the series so far with some wonderful people, and I am very excited for that. Now, there are a few mind-warping books of such creative genius that upon finishing them, you feel as if you've entered another dimension, leaving you on the cusp of some vast revelation and whispering truths in your ears long after you put those books down. Mark Lawrence has written 2 of those books in The Book That Wouldn't Burn, which was my favorite read of 2023 and the first installment in the Library Trilogy. And once again, in its sequel, The Book That Broke the World. This is a story that is several things. Let me try to describe it to you. It is fantasy. It is science fiction. It is a bit of heart-tugging romance. Possibly a dystopian vision of the future. And it is also about many things. But one of them is whether or not humanity is redeemable. Whether the fact that our cleverness outpaces our wisdom routinely will spell out our end. It asks, this incredible book, it asks, given the destruction that we have caused, can we be trusted with knowledge? Information. This is a book that is about information in an age of information where we are inundated with information and disinformation. This is a book that explores the repercussions of being surrounded by information and disinformation. It is also very much a book that is about storytelling, how we need stories, which could be the thing that damns us or the thing that saves us. It is like the titular book, the book that broke the world. The book itself, this is a bit of a loop here, the book that broke the world itself is a book that eats its own tail. T-A-L-E is a marvelous pun that Mark Lawrence has given us. It is a book that eats its own tail in a strange loop that somehow hints at the secret of consciousness and existence. It is also about the very precarious nature of knowledge and history, how the more we know we don't know. And it is about the tragic cycles of history, and it asks whether or not we can transcend them. It is also, by the way, a heart-stopping tale of love and friendship with some characters who have utterly won me over. It is a heartwarming story, a beautiful story, a tragic story in many ways. This is a story that got me a couple times in the sense that I did need to get out the tissues. So definitely an emotional story. And it has Mark Lawrence's trademark humor as well. He is just an author who seems to be so able to combine the kind of storytelling that makes me think with a page-turner that also at the same time gives me an emotional punch. And all of that together is just such a rare thing to find in an author. And I just appreciate that about his stories in general, but it is most true of the Library Trilogy thus far. The Book That Broke the World expands the number of POVs that we had from the first book, although it is actually a shorter book than the first book, but it expands the number of POVs. And I think the pacing is perhaps a little bit quicker as a result. But in the process, it also managed to make me care so deeply about the characters that I already knew, but even new characters that I met in this one. So just incredible that Mark Lawrence was able to achieve that in a book of this length. And just to give a little bit of a warning, if you consider naming characters a spoiler, because these are characters that were in the first book. So if you don't want to know if they have they survive the first book into the second or that sort of thing, then this may be your time to sign off. In which case, thank you so much for tuning in up till now. but I am going to talk about some of the characters in a non-spoiler way for the book that broke the world. And it won't be a spoiler for the book that wouldn't burn, except that you'll know that these characters are in the second book. So here we go. Levira, absolutely one of Mark Lawrence's greatest characters, in my opinion. I think at the end of the day, she's going to end up there with Nona for me as a beloved fantasy character. Levira is so persistent and at the same time so loving toward her friends, and the fact that she is clever and also gifted, and but it comes from a very disadvantaged background, is a wonderful thing that Mark Lawrence does. The fact is, he makes these characters who come from difficult circumstances, characters who are broken in some way, shape, or form, and he makes them so endearing. And this is the thing that he has done once again in the book that wouldn't burn and in the book that broke the world. He is so good at making me care about these characters, and Levira is right at the top of my list. And Evar as well. He in his own way also comes from a very broken background, cut off from everyone except for his siblings, having to learn about life in under the very limited circumstances that have been handed to him. Just a wonderful thing going on there, and of course the relationships between these characters, just wonderful stuff. Arpix, a character that was more or less a secondary character in the book that wouldn't burn, really flowers in the book that broke the world. It was just so wonderful to get to know him more, to get more of his story. He's a POV character as well, and just really well done. I think he was a great pick for that role, and he gives a wonderful sense of not just the stakes here in this story from a slightly different perspective, but also the investment that we have as readers in this. I think he's a good representative of our kind of perspective in some ways, letting us see into this story in a way that's really effective. Clovis, wonderful. I just did not expect to really care so much about Clovis, and I loved her role in this book. I think that she has become a much more human character. I hope she wouldn't be too insulted by me saying that. Oops, sorry, Clovis. Um, Malor is just a big favorite of mine as well from the book that wouldn't burn. Just a great character, and he became more endearing to me. I love his foul mouth. I love how protective he is of Levira. Just a great father figure in so many ways, although he probably would give an expletive or two at the notion of me saying something like that. But, that's what makes him so lovable. Ute, I just love Ute's role in all of this. And it was really interesting to see Ute. And this is something that you definitely saw in the first book, but a character who seems so not omniscient, but kind of close in some ways, and so frail and vulnerable at the same time. So just really neat stuff. And the two new characters, I'm not sure how you pronounce them. I'm going to go with a kind of sound with the CH. Is it Kelcha or Kelcha? I don't know. But I loved her in here, her role, and Hellet, allowing Mark Lawrence to introduce even further, I think, some themes of oppression and othering and some really important stuff. We did get mention of the Ganars in the first book, the book that wouldn't burn, but we get to see them much more fully and who they are and what they are and where they come from and their role in this world in the book that broke the world. And that's just brilliantly done, woven into the story in a way that's thematically so important, I think. And so, yeah, just great stuff. And even the villains, they are appropriately villainous. Everybody did their part in this, but those are the ones that I really wanted to shout out as characters that hit me in the right ways. So just couldn't be happier with this series. My only complaint is now I have to wait for book 3 in the library trilogy. I am anticipating something absolutely brilliant and amazing, earth-shattering. Let's see what Mark Lawrence does in book 3 of the library trilogy, but that is it from me for now. Until next time.